Alright guys, so today we're going to be changing some front brakes and back brakes on a 2010 Dodge Ram 1500 4.7 V8. It's a pretty easy job. You don't really need that many tools. So yeah, let's jump in and get started. So I'm going to be installing the Raybestos coated rotor and the Raybestos semi-metallic disc pads. Alright guys, it's always a good idea before you go in and start this any job, make sure that the parts that you got look similar to the ones that you have coming off of your vehicle, because you don't want to do a job and then come to find out when you're halfway through it that the part is wrong. You're gonna have to go back to the auto parts store to get the correct one. All right, so for this particular job, we're only going to need just a couple of basic tools. A 3/4 socket to remove the lug nuts, a 1/2 socket to be able to remove the bolt that's right here holding the disc pad, and then a 1/2 to be able to remove this bolt to be able to remove the rotor. Your truck might be a little bit different because this one has these kind of rims. These are 22-inch rims, so your truck might be a little bit different. It might actually have some different lug nuts, so check on that. But for this truck, all we need is just a 3/4 socket to be able to remove the lug nuts. So once we get the lug nuts removed and we take off the wheel, okay, next step that we're going to want to do is we're going to need to grab our ratchet, and like I mentioned, this is 1/2. Just gonna put it against the bolt, and you're gonna take it off. Okay, so when you're removing the bolt for the brake caliper, okay, one thing I noticed is you're gonna have a bolt right here that's going to move also. So what you're gonna need to do, you're gonna need to grab a 17-inch wrench and hold it. As you take off the brake caliper bolt, should come out pretty easily. You got that removed. You're gonna do the same thing to the other side. The brake caliper bolt that's right here. Okay, so as you're wiggling, I'm having to use a screwdriver to be able to wiggle it more out. So you might need to do that also, depending on how bad your brakes are. All right, so when they're removed, you're just gonna put them right here to the side. You'll come back to them in a little bit. Next step is to go ahead and remove the old the brake pads. Now we can reuse the brackets that they come with, but we have brand new ones that they sent us, so we're gonna go ahead and install the brand new ones. But it's not really necessary. You could have used the old ones. We could have used the old ones. All right, so next step after we remove the brake pads is you're gonna come back and you're gonna remove this bracket. Okay, this one right here is using a 13/16 socket, and I'll come right back. I need to use both of my hands. Okay, so once you get both of the bolts removed from the brake caliper bracket, there it goes. this comes right out. It's easy as that. All right, we got the new one already installed. There goes the old one. New one's coated to prevent it from rusting, and plus it looks really good. And then the installation is the reverse of removal, so we're going to install the bracket first, and then we're going to install the brake caliper. It should be pretty easy, so let's get started. Okay, so we got the two bolts back in. Go ahead and tighten them up, and that should hold our bracket, and then we're going to install the caliper. Okay, so before I put the brake caliper back on the brand new brake rotor, I need to compress the pistons that it has. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this C-clamp, and I'm going to take an old brake pad and I put it right here. That way it'll help me compress the piston back in. So all I have to do is set up the C-clamp, and then I'm going to tighten it up to compress the piston in. Pretty easy. Press back in. If you look at it from the side, you shouldn't be able to see the piston at all. Okay, that means it's ready to go, and you can install your brand new brake pads on the rotor. Okay, so one of the things I noticed as I grabbed the brand new brake pads and I started to grab the brackets to be able to install them on the new brake pads is I noticed on the old one it had a bracket on this side, but it didn't even have it on this side. And I can tell because if I remove this bracket, it has scratch marks. But on the other side, it doesn't even have any scratch marks. So whoever installed these old ones didn't even install the brackets in there correctly. Huh, quite interesting. But we're going to take care of it. We're going to get this guy set up. We're going to install the brand new brackets. Make sure everything's installed on there correctly. Alright, so we've got both of our brackets installed. Time to install this brake pad in. Go ahead and do it from the top first. Okay, so alright, so that one's in. See how that one's going against the brake caliper bracket over here. And then the bottom part should slip in. Alright. Got that one slipped in. Alright. They're in there. Alright, so we got both of them installed. That was a piece of cake to get them back in there. Now it's time to install the brake caliper. So before I go ahead and install the brake caliper, I'm going to take some brake grease, some brake and caliper grease. And where I'm going to put it is I'm going to put it right here around the brake piston, both sides. And I'm also going to put some right here. All three of them. That way it'll make it easier for the pistons to work as they should. Alright, so with that put on, you're only putting a small amount, okay, to go ahead and grease them up. Don't go like putting it all over the place and put like a very large amount. Okay, so after that's done, we're gonna go ahead and install it back on our brake pads, brake rotor. Alright, so that goes in pretty easy. Okay, next step is to go ahead and tighten up the brake caliper bolts that you took off a little earlier. That should be pretty easy for you guys also. Okay, so one thing I do want to mention as you're installing these bolts, don't forget to use your 17mm wrench. Okay, but once you have them in there, okay, and you tighten these up, now don't go too crazy in tightening these up, because you could damage the bracket that's here. So you're just gonna tighten them up and just hand tight. That's it. Okay, don't tighten them any more than that. You're just making sure that they're tight, and that's it. Leave them alone. Don't go too crazy doing, you know, like a large amount of force, because you'll definitely damage these parts inside. Those two bolts tightened up. That's it. Go ahead and put our tire back on, tire and rim, and put the lug nuts back on, and this job is done. We're gonna go ahead and do the same thing to the opposite side. It should be exactly the same process. So now that you guys know how to do it, whole total job should take you maybe about 30 minutes to 45 minutes if you're using a brand new brake rotor. If you're not, you're gonna need to take it to like an O'Reilly store and get your brake rotor cut. And that way they can make this super smooth. It costs you about 20 bucks per rotor, so about $40 to be able to cut both sides. It'll take you about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how backed up that store is. But it should be pretty easy. I've done it before. I've taken it to O'Reilly's and they do a pretty good job. And then you come back on it. If you do O'Reilly's, you're looking at about maybe like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But if you do brand new brake rotors, 30 minutes to 45 minutes and you're good to go.